What's poppin', y'all? We got some old head beef, and there's not many things I enjoy more than this. Now, you guys are going to have to bear with me. I'm a little bit sick. I'm getting over it. My voice will probably be back up and ready in 48 hours max. But this was between Fat Joe and Joe Budden. And this all started with a Knicks game. Yeah, that's correct, a Knicks game. Who, congratulations to all those Knicks fans that have been thugging it out through abuse for, 20 years or so. But this all started with this video clip I'm going to show you guys right now. So there you see Fat Joe and 50 Cent, and it's on TV, Celebrity Row, powered by Motorola Razr. And then right behind them, you see Joe Budden, and then that's his girlfriend, fiance, I don't know, I'm pretty sure it's just his girlfriend, with the sunglasses. And he's laughing, have a good time, smiling. He bought those seats, and she's having a good time as well. Well, what this led to is Fat Joe, respect to Fat Joe for clout chasing off of this situation. Because the context here is Fat Joe and Jadakiss, they got their own podcast now. So Boost Mobile is sponsoring it. This is the thing, man. A lot of these ventures are unsustainable and unprofitable. The only thing that's carrying them is the sponsors. And for like certain industries, especially on content, you see these production and sets. Some of them it's just gambling carrying it. But in this case, Joe and Jada, respect to them, they're in the podcast space now. They're in the internet space, which everyone like to make fun of. Not Jadakiss. I don't have anything bad to say about Jadakiss. I like Jadakiss. I like Jadakiss music. But Fat Joe, he's got to get ish popping. So he decides to throw Joe Budden under the bus for it in this clip.
I'm out there with my family in Vegas. His manager, they gave me some suspect. Suspect for me is I'm not going 10th row. I'm not going 5th row. I gotta be front row.
So you want all the
Because somebody you don't like, your enemy, gonna come sit right at, we call that the Joe Budden seats. You know, them second row.
I don't even got
You
a
ain't
hood.
got a hoodie?
I don't even got a hood.
Yo, listen, them second, third row, I can't do it. I gotta sit front row. I'll give you my experience.
What do you call them seats?
The Joe Budden seats. Them shit second row. You know, perfect example. Him and 50 got some shit, and I'm sitting courtside, and 50 comes
He was
sit.
right behind y'all.
Okay, but he's behind us.
Those were still considered floor seats.
Those
if
are
you know
great.
anything.
Listen,
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
It's AA and BB.
I'm not
He
trying
was
to be
in-
disrespectful, but the man had a little something going on with 50, and why God put 50 Cent front row, and he's in like third row. Like, that would bother me if I was Joe Budden's. It happened to me before. It happened to me before. When we
Now,
just
listen,
squashed
if he
the
didn't bump in the 5th, would he had a nice experience?
You got a
at-
good seat, but the problem is you got to always expect the enemy might come front row.
Yo, what are you,
No,
what are you thinking?
This man is
trying to tell you the truth. The enemy will come front row. Look what happened to Joe Budden.
That's
I'm-
the only example you can
I'm
give
going to
me.
give you another one.
Okay.
I went to a Babyface concert.
Yo,
Hold up.
all right, let me hear it.
I gotta hear it.
Let me hear it.
I'm going to a Babyface concert.
This probably sounds like the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard in your entire life. But there are multiple different things going on here that make it interesting. So off rip, you know how everybody uses the term projection? This is straight up projection, and he's admitting it. He's like, well, this happened to me before. That's why. Like, your enemy could come in front. Number one, everyone's like, yo, don't you want to be behind your enemy? Don't you want to have high ground on your enemy? Like, that's always advantageous. Sure, of course, like, nothing's really going to pop off, but let's just say, right, you want to be behind the person. You want to have eyes on them, at the very least. So that goes out the window. And then the aspect of it here is Fat Joe needs to get his podcast lit and popping. How is he going to do that? He needs to get stuff clipped. Now, Joe and Jada, fortunately for them, they already have stock, and if they say something controversial, we care about hearing it, especially Fat Joe. Fat Joe recently, he's been having a couple of battles with FBA. I don't know what the updates are on that, but he's been hot in these internet streets. People are either hating on him, some people are agreeing with him, whatever the case may be, but he's popping. And he knows that if he talks about Joe Budden in any type of way, it's going to get Joe Budden to respond, hopefully, or get people that don't like Joe Budden to spread the clip in hopes that they get Joe Budden to respond. So this is all free promo. And it was a little bit of there wasn't too much disrespect here. It was almost like playful nodding and prodding, almost like a sparring of beef, as opposed to actual Joe Budden's a bum. He couldn't get the front row seats. This is the third angle or perspective that nobody's talking about either. Live events, games like this, keep in mind, these guys are in America. What happens in America? Y'all get to bussing. And I'm not talking about some dance moves. People come into venues and they start airing stuff out all the time. Whether it's some psycho white dude, it's more liable to happen. A psycho white dude is more liable to come into an NBA game than he is to a rap concert. And at that point, I want to be closest to the exit. So personally, you on the floor seats, it's a wrap for you, buddy. You're not really going anywhere. So you're going to have to hope that everyone else, and think about it, everyone's scrambling if they're airing the place out. Now somebody's going to say, well, that's so unlikely to happen. It's possible to happen. That's not the case in New Zealand or Australia or even UK. So realistically, if he's talking about being safe and being perched and all that, you don't want to be in the front seats. The front seat's going to be the last person out. Now, I know there are probably those player exits and all that, but you're crowded. There are tens of thousands of other people that are going to be in a rush to get the hell out of there, and you're a sitting duck. So realistically, the best place to sit in venues is right next to the exit. I want to be able to hop over whatever perch that a person's going to come in and run the hell out of there. And, I'll catch whatever happens on Twitter X that evening. And, I'll pray for everybody that may not have made it, unfortunately. This is such a crazy scenario, but, this guy's bringing up crazy. What if your enemy gets put in front of you? Man, who cares? But Joe Budden, he takes the bait, and this is all in good fun for all of them. So it's not like Joe Budden got tricked or anything. He knows how this podcast game works, and he starts cooking. He starts chefing up. Joe Budden is making some great points here. Now, he brings the money aspect into the conversation, which this is a bit of a status game more than it is a money game. Because we can all agree that Joe Budden's making more than Fat Joe. What is Fat Joe making? But Fat Joe likes the appearance of being hot. So Fat Joe, I think he's with Rock Nation. Fat Joe's got a lot of equity in New York City. Now, if Fat Joe goes to LA, Atlanta, Miami, he's not getting the love that Joe Budden is getting. And I'm wondering where Fat Joe would be sitting if this is the Miami Heat or the LA Lakers. Maybe his management team would still be able to conjure something up, but that's an important conversation. And Fat Joe is somebody that really, really wants to look the part. However, Joe Budden is not like that. We saw Joe Budden chasing down two kids in a tank top. That guy's wearing anything he wants, whenever he wants. And then, if you talk about wearing anything he wants, let me play you guys this clip of what Fat Joe was wearing at the Knicks game. Dog, Fat Joe looks like some Brighton Beach babushka waiting for her son that just won the regional tennis championship with that wrapped around his head. What's going on here? Why is he wearing that? Does he think he's A$AP Rocky or something? So I don't know why Fat Joe was wearing that, looking fanned out over Jalen Brunson. But, and yeah, I just learned who Jalen Brunson was 2 weeks ago. So don't pretend. I'm not going to pretend like I know anything about the Knicks or the players. So don't hold me to that standard. But overall, this just goes to show what people really care about. Both of these guys are doing fine for themselves. Fat Joe is coming into his domain, though. He's coming into the podcast domain. Let's see how long this podcast lasts. I think that's the most important thing. Hey, Fat Joe, you think you're so popping? I've had the Joe Budden podcast. We've been going on 8 years. Is it 8 or is it 10, 9, whatever, however much it is. I think he just starts the clock. He's like, all right, let's see how long this thing is going to last. Because a lot of these people, including Elliott Wilson, for instance, when he was doing that back and forth about Rap Radar, he said, if there's a deal on the table, we'll do it. So these old heads, they're not trying to get it out the mud, scrounge together a YouTube channel and build it up. Nah, they've got their sponsors, and then eventually the sponsors are probably going to be like, okay, like what the hell is going on here? This is not profitable. Shut this down. This is not making us any money. And we will see if they continue after that, because then they've really got love for the game. But a lot of these people, they just hop in because they think it's an extra bag and they think it's what's popping right now. But listen, the bag and podcast being popping is years ago. But we'll see what happens. I enjoy Fat Joe. The thing is, Fat Joe is a Puerto Rican, New York. I think he's a Puerto Rican, New York trash talker. And that makes for excellent podcasting. Like he's the type of person to rarely ever apologize or back down on something. He'll just double down even if he knows he's wrong, which makes for great content, which is why I'm happy to see Fat Joe here. And man, I enjoy Fat Joe music. I like the guy. Like, do I ever want to hang around him? I don't know. I don't know his personality type. But growing up, man, you just have a fondness for Fat Joe, especially seeing him like throughout the eras. But let me know what y'all think about this in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you enjoyed. And I'm going to see y'all in the next one. Also, there's paying for the seats, which is what Joe Budden did. And then there's Fat Joe not paying for the seats. In this argument, who actually wins that? Is it Joe Budden because he actually paid and has the money to pay? Or is it Fat Joe because he's like, yo, I'm so lit and connected that I don't got to pay like you? I think that's like a good conversation to have. Me personally, I don't care about it either way. I don't think about it either way. But I would presume that if you are not able to buy those seats yourself and you get comped them and you're flexing that, that's when we got to look at you like, man, you cannot be talking trash like that.